Not everyone who feels broken is actually broken. Some of you have spent years carrying a weight that was never meant to crush you. It was meant to mark you. And the very things that made you feel different, the things you have apologized for, the things people have rolled their eyes at, those are signs that something heavier than an ordinary life was placed inside you. You have wondered why ordinary moments never felt ordinary to you. There is a reason. If you have spent years feeling too sensitive, too intense, too aware of things other people walk right past without noticing, if you have felt isolated, even surrounded by people who claim to love you, you did not malfunction. You were not broken in production. You were built for a weight class most people were never assigned to carry. This is not flattery. This is discernment. Not everyone who suffers is gifted, and not everyone who is gifted gets to skip the suffering. But there is a pattern, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it in your own life, and you will not be able to explain large parts of your past the same way again. 5 signs. Each one explains a piece of your life that never made sense until right now. The last one is the one almost everyone misreads as loneliness, and it is the opposite of loneliness. Sign number 1. The disqualification you feel is evidence, not a verdict. Most people assume that if God were going to use them, the shame would have already left. They wait for the guilt to disappear before they believe they are called. But gold does not get refined by staying untouched. It gets refined by fire hot enough to separate it from everything it was mixed with. The heat you have felt is not proof you were rejected. It is proof something in you was worth purifying. Listen, the enemy does not waste ammunition on people who are not a threat. If your past keeps getting replayed in your mind louder than it should, that is not random. That is resistance, and resistance only shows up where there is something worth resisting. The accusation gets loudest right before the assignment starts, not after it fails. Do not confuse the volume of the accusation with the truth of the verdict. Paul wrote it plainly, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." 2 Corinthians 12:9. Your weakness was never the disqualification, it was the doorway. Stop letting shame write the verdict that grace already overturned, because the moment you believe the lie, you bury the gift under guilt before it ever has a chance to surface. But here is the truth, that same heat is exactly why your perception works the way it does. Sign number 2, what they call too sensitive, is discernment running without an off switch. You walk into a room and feel a shift before anyone says a word. You sense tension under a smile. You know something is wrong in a conversation 3 sentences before it becomes obvious to everyone else. People have called this dramatic. It is not dramatic. A smoke detector is not dramatic for going off before the room fills with smoke. It is doing exactly what it was built to do. Hear this. You are not overreacting to the room. You are reacting to what is actually in the room, just earlier than everyone else can see it. That gap between when you notice and when everyone else notices is not a flaw, it is the gift itself. Solid food is for the mature, who by constant use have trained themselves to distinguish good from evil. Hebrews 5:14. That sensitivity you have been told to shrink is the same skill Scripture calls maturity. Stop apologizing for noticing what others ignore. If you silence it long enough to make people comfortable, you lose the early warning system that was never given to you for decoration. And if that discernment costs you peace, just wait until you see what it costs you in fire. Sign number 3. Your life gets tested harder than the people around you, and there is a reason for it. Refining gold requires a higher temperature than refining tin. The heat is not random, it is proportional to what is being purified. If your assignment carries more weight, your testing will carry more heat. That is not punishment, that is proportion. If you are not careful, you will spend years comparing your trials to people whose assignment was never built to carry what yours is built to carry, and you will resent a fire that was actually preparing you. Comfortable lives do not require much testing because they are not carrying much. Stop asking God why it is so hard for you specifically. Start asking what is being formed in you that requires this much heat. Resist the process and you stay in the wilderness longer than you were ever meant to. The fire is not evidence you were forgotten. It is evidence you were measured and found worth the cost. Let's pause here for a second because this is where most people get lost. You have felt disqualified. You have felt too sensitive. You have felt tested past what seems fair, and none of that was random. It was not God forgetting about you. It was God sharpening something in you that the comfortable version of your life was never strong enough to hold. Now here is the part almost nobody sees coming. Sign number 4. When you speak, things shift, and you have noticed it. You have prayed over a situation and watched it change direction within days. You have said something plainly, without rehearsing it, and watched the room go quiet because the words landed heavier than you intended. That is not coincidence. That is authority. A tuning fork does not ask permission before it makes the objects around it vibrate at its frequency. It just does, because of what it is made of. Do not confuse weight with volume. You do not have to be loud to carry authority. You just have to be aligned. The tongue has the power of life and death. Proverbs 18:21. That verse is not poetry. It is a warning and a commission at the same time. If your words carry weight, you cannot afford to use them carelessly, not over yourself, not over the people around you. Misuse that weight, and it stops being authority and starts being confusion. People pull away from a gift they cannot trust you to steward, and they will not always tell you why. But the last sign is the one that will reframe everything you just heard, because it is the one almost everyone gets completely backward. Sign number 5. The isolation you feel is not rejection. It is separation. This one is subtle, and it is the one that hurts the most because it does not look like a gift. It looks like loneliness. It looks like being surrounded by people and still feeling like no one actually sees you. It looks like outgrowing conversations you used to enjoy and not knowing how to explain why. That is not cold. That is commanded. An instrument does not get tuned in the middle of the orchestra. It gets tuned alone before the part it was built to play. Loneliness has an end date attached to circumstances. Separation has a purpose attached to assignment. And those are not the same thing even though they feel identical from the inside. Stop chasing the people back into the room. Stop interpreting the silence as evidence that something is wrong with you. The same weight that made you too intense for casual conversation, too aware for shallow rooms, too tested for an easy life. That weight needed space to finish forming, and space looks like absence from the outside. Nobody claps for the rehearsal room. They only show up for the performance, and by then, you will have forgotten how empty the room used to feel. This is the one most gifted people misread the longest, because it is the one that costs the most before it ever pays out. You do not lose people when you are being prepared. You lose the noise, and most people spend years grieving the noise instead of recognizing what was actually